points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. The band is back together. Dave Minuk returning from his worldwide excursions. Ezzy Ginsburg's at the bottom, and I'm your host, Drew Mindell. Gentlemen, good to see you both. Dave M., welcome back. I hope your time away from us was pleasant and was not filled with Jets games similar to what you saw tonight.
No, it wasn't. It was a little hard. I tried to keep abreast of everything that was going on. Obviously, had to keep the papers and the website rolling, despite the fact that I was off in yonder. But despite the time zone changes, going from Borneo to Guam to Sri Lanka, parts unknown. It was quite an escapade. It was the Dave capade. Usually they're escapades. It was a Dave capade. So I tried to keep up to date. You guys did a great job in my absence. I thank you for doing that.
All I know, Dave, is it doesn't matter how hard, Drew and I try and how many times we go to Fabutan. We're not even going to come close to that tan. Holy. Aloha.
Aloha. Mahalo, Ezzy.
Exactly. Everyone else can put together a fund to see if we can get Dave some sunscreen more than SPF 20, apparently.
For the record, I actually wore SPF 50. Yeah. But when you haven't seen the sun in 6 months, it has a tendency to torch you. So I did wear 50. I was responsible, but it didn't matter because the sun will get you.
There you go. The sun will get you. The Detroit Red Wings will get you too. As they did the Winnipeg Jets tonight, a 3-1 Red Wings victory over the Winnipeg Jets. And guys, I'm just sort of.
I thought the weather outside was depressing, boys.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to drive, to look out your window, from about 2:00 on today and watching it come down sideways, basically a combination of snow and rain, and then you get in your car and you trudge downtown to watch two terrible hockey teams, one of the two teams that allegedly has a tiny bit of a pulse and a tiny bit of a hope for the playoffs, and then you watch that performance by the hometown team. And I mean, I just don't even know what's left to be said at this point in time. You know what it reminded me of? Remember Tim Burke? Tim Burke, who was initially hired as the Bombers interim head coach when they
You're going back now, Drew. Wow.
When the Bombers fired Paul LaPolice back in 2011, and then they hired Tim Burke as the interim head coach. And then they actually made him the permanent head coach for the year after. And the guy was just over his head. Just was clear that he could not be a head coach. He did not know what he was doing. And it was just getting from bad to worse, game after game after game after game, into the point where it was just sort of comical. That's sort of what I was thinking about watching tonight's performance by the Winnipeg Jets. You're playing a Red Wings team that is not very good. Newsflash, neither are the Jets. And you're playing a Red Wings team that played last night and somehow gave up 50 shots yet won. And then traveled to Winnipeg. And, the trip from Detroit to Winnipeg isn't the trip from Minnesota to Winnipeg or the trip from Ottawa to Montreal like the Jets are going to do this weekend. It's a couple hours on a plane. It's not a quick jaunt. I'm not really sure why they're playing back-to-back games from Detroit to Winnipeg. It doesn't usually happen.
They got in late. Needless to say, they got to bed late.
They got in late. And then the Jets come out and they put up that performance. And I do not, two of my beloved chatters in there, and I love you all very, very much, I do not want to see one of you say anything about the Jets getting goalied, because that absolutely just lets everybody off the hook and is way too simplistic of an answer for how the Jets managed to lose yet another game against a team that is below them in the standings.
I'm not even joking right now. More people in the chat want to hear about Dave Minuk's trip to Hawaii as opposed to talking even for a minute about this game. You're absolutely right, Drew. I mean, Thomas Greiss is a good goaltender. I mean, we knew, going into the season, look, nobody really thought Detroit was going to be a playoff team this year. Not many people, at least that I saw or we saw. But, we knew that goaltending was going to be a strength with Alex Nedeljkovic. We just talked about it, right? He made, what would it have been, 46 or 47 saves? It was 5-3, right?
I thought it was 5-2, that's a big, but whatever it was, 47, 48, yeah.
But they also lost 5-2 to Ottawa twice in a row, right? So they gave up 10 goals in back-to-back games to Ottawa. And Sean Reynolds, they had the quote up, if you watch the game live, they had the quote up from Dylan Larkin. He said that after those two losses, I believe it was after the two losses, it was in the last week or so, I know that. He said, we have to have a positive finish to the season. We can't just end the season, meekly and lose, 10 of 12 games or whatever, 10 of 14 games. And Dylan Larkin was phenomenal tonight. And he's got 30 goals on the season. 30 or 31 goals on the season. So he's the captain. We know he's one of the best players on the wings. He's maybe even a top 20 forward in the league. I still think he's underrated personally. He would definitely have been on the American Olympic team. I'll say that much. But the point is, this is again, even if your chances of making the playoffs are only 1.5% or whatever it is, everybody knows that it's not good right now. You're 7 points back of the Stars. Your chances of making the playoffs, basically, unless you go 11-0, you could still miss the playoffs if you go 11-0, by the way. This is inexcusable. And what's probably the worst part about that first period is that the Jets badly outplayed the Red Wings, badly. I can remember a really good scoring chance for Nikolai Ehlers. It was Josh Morrissey hits the post on that power play in the first period. I remember another good scoring chance from Paul Stastny. It was all Jets. And they're down 1-0 to the Red Wings, right? So that's so demoralizing for a Jets team. But then they come out and there's the disallowed goal. And I know we'll get into it in the Betway recap, Drew. But the second period, they get badly outshot. So it's you're down a goal. You should have come out and you should have been fired up. And I don't know about you guys or other people watching the game. I thought the Jets were going to put 3 or 4 goals past Greiss in that second period. The opposite happened. It was really, I think, a game that we've seen many times before this year. But the Jets are officially, not officially, but to me, at least, they're officially out. That performance is, I'm at a loss for words. It was just terrible.
When Ezzy's at a loss for words, Dave, we know things have really gone off the rails. Dave, you were in the building for better or worse, I suppose. I guess what were your sort of general observations when we get into the goal-by-goal recap of yet another home ice disaster?
There's just no life. There really isn't. It's a quiet building. It's not inspiring play. That's just it. It really didn't. I think the most exciting thing was people seeing Dave Ellett, because other than that, honestly, I really just don't know what people were excited about. And then, look, they got a little excited when Scheifele scored, and then when they thought Wheeler scored. But Drew, you got outshot by a Wings team. We've talked about this before. Some teams, we've talked to, Brendan Dillon mentioned this, and I've referenced it before. Some teams can feel like their first period after a game last night is going to be the best period, and that they're going to lose their legs in the second and third periods. Others feel like they have a little bit to go. What was it like? What happened? The Wings outshot the Jets 17-9 in that second period. That's it actually must have been, but it must have been even worse because the Jets at one point had to think of
Jacob Vrana hit the post on they gave up the breakaway. Vrana hits the post.
Well, and I actually thought it went in. I was sitting there and I looked at Judy Owen, who writes for the CP, and I said, Judy, did that go in? Because first of all, the way it came out so quickly and it didn't make a sound. Now, upon seeing the replay, you see Hellebuyck got a piece of it, so it didn't hit directly. But still, you're right, Ezzy. It was one of those situations where you're sitting there going, how is this Jets team, who's supposed to be in desperation mode, playing against the Wings team the Wings have some good young talent, right? There's no question about it. They've got some really nice.
Lucas Raymond is a really good hockey player.
Oh, what a shot!
Moritz Seider.
Yeah, Moritz Seider, as you're tweeting about him. He's a phenomenal young player. Lucas Raymond had a wicked wrist shot in the first period that ripped. I think it was the first period, ripped off the post and could have gone in. So no, it was the second period. Now that I think about it, but it's just one of those games where you're just sitting there going, you're expecting the Jets. Like, you know what this is, you know what's going on. You know where you are. Where is the urgency in your game? Because you can't not do it. Another inexplicable lack of a use of a timeout by a coach. I mean, you're down by a goal, you're pushing, and you don't give your guys. I mean, Ezzy's going to talk about this later, but guys took long shifts. And you know what happens when a guy takes a long shift? Maybe use that timeout that you have, because you can't use it on Friday against the Colorado Avalanche. Well, you could, but it'll be the only one you're allowed to use, not the second one. So we've seen Lowry. Has Lowry taken one timeout since he's been the head coach? Like, honestly, I think of one. I can only think of one time he's used the timeout.
Dave Lowry is not a good NHL head coach, period. But to pull,
well, he's also hasn't been an NHL head coach for very long. So.
He's not going to get a chance to be one. I mean, he's clearly shown that he's not up for the task based on his decision making, based on how the Jets have been playing. I'm sorry, I'll be blunt. He's not an NHL caliber head coach. But
it's funny, actually, because I actually saw Dave Lowry in the press box, and he said, Drew Mandel isn't an NHL caliber host. He goes, at what point are you going to replace him?
Totally legitimate.
Well, everybody knows that.
He makes a lot more money than I do, doing this role. There's a big difference.
We're obviously joking. Drew has been holding this show together for years. Everybody knows that. I am the weakest link. Goodbye.
As he just went.
He just disappeared off the screen there. What I didn't understand is when the timing of pulling Hellebuck. So it's the 4-on-4 situation with Zach Sanford in the box.
3 minutes to go or something like that.
Yeah, but he pulls Hellebuck when it's still 4-on-4.
Yeah, I know.
And, you're about to get a 5. I get it that you're about to get a power play because the Red Wings somehow managed to take a too many men on the ice penalty while they were on the power play. But, I just don't understand why you're pulling the goalie then in order to get Hellebuck on the bench, and you're about to get a 5-on-4 power play. It just... everything about his decision-making leaves me questioning.
Everything about the Jets' performance left more to be desired. And I'll steal a phrase from your playbook, Drew. I mean, the attention to detail was not there. And, I agree with you in terms of positives. Like, what positives are we talking about with 11 games left in the season, 7 points behind the Stars? We talked about the scoring chances. Dave's right. I mean, Mark Scheifele, nice tip. That's great. You lost the hockey game and you're losing the race to get into the playoffs. So scoring a goal, Paul Stastny, I thought was really good tonight. Ended up with, I think he led the team with 5 shots. Who cares? you just lost to a team that played the night before, as you mentioned, that traveled from Michigan, that didn't get a full night's sleep unless the guys slept in. But the point is they played last night, and you have had 3 days off since your last game, which at this point in the season is such a luxury, right? Because we know teams across the league, because of COVID, because of the condensed schedule, I mean, nobody really is getting 3 days off in between games really anymore.
No.
So there's no excuses, and there are no moral victories here, guys. Like, no. I honestly, after the Jets lost to the Kings, I was like, okay, this is it. This is over. The Jets are not making the playoffs. But this kind of just was the final nail in the coffin for me.
It's just not acceptable. I mean, it's not acceptable. It's a dollars and cents business, not acceptable, perspective. Who's buying a ticket for the rest of these games? Nobody.
Nobody wants to buy tickets right now. And why would you? You want to know who people want to watch? They want to go to Canada Life Center and watch the Moose. They want to go watch the Winnipeg Ice. They want to watch teams that are winning right now.
It's just, look, this team was thrown for a loop, and I'm not excusing it. They were thrown for a loop when Paul Maurice up and quit on them. There's no question about that. But then they compounded their error by hiring somebody to take over who wasn't fit for the job. I mean, and you don't.
We don't even know, Drew. We don't even know if there were any other options, right? I'm not disagreeing with you, but you're true, but we just don't know if those options were, I guess, attractive to them.
Well, it doesn't matter. There's always other options. I mean, look.
Well, it's not like they had 5. It's not like they had 5 weeks or whatever to. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm just saying they didn't have a lot of time to find that head coach, right? Like Bruce Boudreau wasn't there. I don't know if they even looked seriously at a guy like, Rick Tocchet, for example, or somebody like that, right? I just don't know. That's all I'm saying. I'm just to be fair, they didn't have a lot of time to put a head coach in place. That's all I'm saying.
Fine. I'll grant you that they had Maurice quit, on a game day, so that
it was 3 days between games too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, he took his
Or
time
4
to
days
quit.
or
There's no
whatever.
question about that. But still, if you truly, you have to realize that sometimes somebody may not be up for the job, and you have to maybe pivot when you don't want to pivot. This is an organization that from day one has only been reactive and never proactive. And this is another instance where being reactive has cost them. Because the truth is, the Western Conference is not very good this year. If the Jets were in the East, they would have been out of the playoff spot and the season would have been long done 3 months ago. You look at the way the East is versus the West, the fact that the Jets conceivably were in a playoff battle up until maybe the Toronto game last Thursday, maybe that was the beginning of the end. If it wasn't even later than that, speaks to the fact that they just happen to be playing in a weaker conference. There was an opportunity, and it was another opportunity missed. And it's been a season of opportunities missed for this Winnipeg Jets team. And that's just what you saw again. So whatever anyone's going to say tonight, and I don't even know, I haven't even looked to see what the platitudes on Twitter are from people in the post-game comments and the players and Dave Lowry and whatever else they're going to say.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of platitudes, Drew.
It depends on who they bring up. Like Ehlers will call it the way it is.
It depends on who they bring out. That's fair, Dave. That's usually how it is. Some guys are more honest than others. But, ultimately, it's just not acceptable. And there's going to be a lot of people, I think, who are going to be questioning whether or not they want to make a commitment to this team for next year to be a supporter and a purchaser of tickets for this team next year until they see that they're truly committed to putting a NHL caliber coaching staff together and because they got an NHL caliber team for the most part, but now they need to really put an NHL caliber coaching staff together to get people to buy in to where this organization is heading. I mean, I think that's more true today than it has been at any other point in this disaster of a season.
Yeah, it has been a disaster. It really has. And the coaching is one thing, but it's not just coaching and it's not just players. I mean, I think it's an organizational, audit, if you want to call it that, or looking at this. And we've talked about this before. We're not the only ones that have talked about this before, but I mean, there's something wrong, with this Jets team. And you just look at how well the Moose are doing. And I mean, it's not True North as an organization. It's the Jets specifically, the NHL club we're talking about here, because I mean, just like kind of juxtapose I know you like that word, Drew, the two teams here. The Moose could win a Calder Cup this year. The Moose are doing it without superstars. I mean, Dave knows this better than anybody. Jeff Malott scored his 21st goal. The Moose won again today. Mikey Eyssimont. Obviously, the Jets defense, the Moose defense is full of draft picks with, Dylan Sandberg, Johnny Kovacevic. I mean, Leon Gavanka. We know all the names, right? So the Moose, I keep seeing the Jets. The Moose decor is full of Jets prospects, but, Mikhail Burden, Arvid Holm have given them great goaltending. Shout out to Evan Cormier as well, Dave. He's provided some pretty good goaltending, in relief as well. But the point is here, like, you've got your AHL club flourishing. And I think, there is something to be said for that. It's like, what's the disconnect here? Because they do have a lot of talented players. The Jets now I'm talking about, the players have to shoulder some of the blame as well. I mean, I think, we're beating a dead horse here by talking about a little bit. I'm not saying you're not making good points, Drew, but what I'm saying is, I mean, everybody here, I think would agree that, Dave Lowry has struggled as the interim head coach with his decision-making, and the record proves it, right? Like, the record in March, guys, was obviously a mirage, right?
Yeah,
and you beat some bad teams,
yeah,
right? Like, you beat up on some bad teams. The schedule was easy. but you're going to miss the playoffs. And the record under Lowry is very similar to what the record was under Maurice. So it shows you that the coaching change had little to no effect. And I'm with you, Drew. Like, I would like to see a veteran NHL coach come in here. I don't know who that is. Do they look at an LA Vigneault? And again, I'm not advocating
names.
I'm not advocating for LA. I'm just saying like whoever you want to throw out there, Rick Tocchet, John Tortorella, Mike Babcock. Again, these aren't guys I would hire, but some of the names that are out there, you have to look at that because this team is way too good on paper to be as bad as they're playing. Like the Jets right now look like one of the worst teams in the league.
They absolutely do, Ezzy. You're 100% right. Dave M., let's get into the game recap. It's brought to you by our friends at Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront. It's simple, fun, and safe to bet with Betway. Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. If you wagered on the Red Wings tonight, you won some money. So I hope some of you did so with our friends at Betway and are laughing all the way to the bank while maybe crying some tears of joy next to your tears of, oh my God, what did I just watch? The Red Wings open the scoring after the Jets dominate for the most part the first period. For the third straight game, the Jets give up a shorthanded goal. Dave M. Sam Gagner, his 10th of the year, his 500th career NHL point, assist to Dylan Larkin, 1-0 Detroit with 1:20 to go in the first period.
Talk about backbreaking, right? You look like you're in control of the game, and yet you find yourself down 1-0, and it's just not great defense, which we've seen from the Jets, and it's a bit of a laissez-faire attitude from them, and guys are being turned around. It was just a comedy of errors, almost Keystone Cops-esque from Winnipeg, right? Guys are standing around and they don't have their men, and so Connor Hellebuyck is left defending, and you're just kind of thinking to yourself, like, what just happened? Because the Jets really, what were the shots? Sorry, at that point when they
13-5 at the end of the first.
I think it was like 13.
It was 11-4.
Yeah, it was like
that's the time for the Jets.
Yeah, that's right. So the Jets had control of the play, right? And so it's just one of those. And Paul Stastny could have had 3 goals in that first period. He had a number of great chances, and Greiss did make some really nice saves. I'll give him credit. You have to give him credit. He did make it's not. Well. I know we're saying, look, I'm not going to say
he's a good veteran NHL goalie. Go back to the Islanders, Dave. The Jets knew who they were facing. It wasn't like a rookie or anything like that.
Right, and I think it's one of those situations where you're not going to say the Jets got goalied, but he made some nice stops. Like I said, there was one or two on Paul Stastny alone in that first period that you thought those could be goals.
And Dubois had a nice setup. I think it was Wheeler that set him up on the power play. The first 10 seconds of the power play, right, Dave? Dubois had a good chance, and it just Greiss was in position. It wasn't kind of hit him in the in the chest, but the point was the Jets setup on the power play was looking fine.
Yeah, and I think the Jets just seem to be too fancy. It's just too much fancy. It's not enough like meat and potatoes, and not enough dirty guys in front of the net banging and crashing away. And it's just that. And I'm just going to flash forward a little bit, but there's a point.
Forward?
I said flash forward because I'm a flash. Because come on, I was in Hawaii. They have flash floods, so you got to think. You got to think in those terms. Regional, Drew. Come on.
I'm pretty sure in Winnipeg we're going to have a flash flood tonight.
Exactly. I drove over the Redwood Bridge today, and I thought to myself, is this bridge going to be underwater very soon? Because the river, it's like crazy.
I'm more of a Provencher Bridge guy myself, but
yeah, you're very bourgeoisie. I get it, but anyways. I keep it to Redwood Bridge. People know what I'm talking about. So the point is that it was unbelievable because the play I'm thinking of is when Pierre-Luc Dubois had a chance in front of the net in the slot and instead chose to pass rather than take a shot, and the crowd went nuts, and they're yelling like you gotta the traditional shoot, and I think that's part of the problem. The Jets were trying to be too cute by a third or a half, whatever the expression is. And it was just not working. And it's like, even though you're getting shots, and some of them, like I said, were quality with the Paul Stastny opportunities, they just weren't doing the things in that dirty area that I think needed to be done. And as a result, they were in a position, and this is not a team that isn't fragile, right? That first goal by the Red Wings, especially a shorthanded goal, and as Ezzy has said, the third straight game you're giving up a shorthanded goal. It's not backbreaking because it's Detroit, and it's a 1-0 game, but it's still pretty deflating.
Okay, can I go off on this goal now?
Yeah, go ahead, Ezzy.
Okay.
And I knew Ezzy wanted to go off.
Well, okay. I mean, first off, I have to preface what I'm about to say by saying I am a big Pierre-Luc Dubois fan. I would have no problem if the Jets sign him to an 8-year deal at whatever amount of money he gets. $8 million a year, $9 million a year. I mean, way more money than I will ever see in my life. Let's just put it that way, okay?
Yeah.
He
The zeros
deserves
are
it.
something the zeros on his paycheck are something you can relate to.
Yeah, the zeros I get, yes.
But not the numbers in front, no.
Yes. So I'm a big fan of his in general, but I also think he's had a fantastic season. I would say maybe the only player that's had a better season than him on the Jets is Kyle Connor. So I just want to preface that by saying that. But that back check is inexcusable because Josh Morrissey, Dylan Larkin makes a nice play, right? It's off the face-off, comes back to Morrissey. Larkin, has the stick, the active stick, as they like to say, pokes the puck away from Morrissey, beats Morrissey. There's a little bit of a chase there. It's a 1-on-1. Then he cuts back to the middle. And then Sam Gagner, Mr. 500 points, son of Dave Gagner, comes in. And Pierre-Luc Dubois is, has a stick out. So he's kind of, maybe I'll, intercept the pass. It's just way too loose. And again, I'm not talking about Dubois' play overall because I thought he was okay tonight. But on that particular play, you're on the power play. You're out shooting the Red Wings badly in the first period. Like I thought they were going to score. I was watching that. I was like, okay, Dubois just had a shot. This power play is looking good. The Jets are going to score here. And to me, that goal is just, if Dubois puts an extra 20% into that back check, that's not a goal. And he intercepts that pass from Sam Gagner, and give Sam Gagner credit, right? Like he's bounced around from team to team, and he's put together a decent season, 500 points, great for him. But to me, like that's just, I don't understand in that situation how Pierre-Luc Dubois is not just busting his ass and doing everything he can to tie up Gagner's stick, hit him, do like just the effort there. I couldn't believe it.
Attention to detail, it's lacking. Attention to detail, it's lacking. It's basically what it's what I wake up every morning saying. Attention to detail, it's lacking. And Pierre-Luc Dubois has been one of the guys this year whose attention to detail has been pretty good for the most part. But this is the third straight game the Jets have given up a shorthanded goal. That's inexcusable.
Dave Murat Attess, our good friend of the Athletic, tweeted this out. In the last 7 games, one of them doesn't technically count because the Jets didn't have a power play. I want to say against Buffalo, maybe. Ottawa, they didn't have a power play. Oh yeah, let's talk about that. Let's relive that Ottawa game again. The Jets are being outscored on their power play 3-2.
Yeah,
they are being outscored on their power play over a 6 or 7 game stretch. That's unbelievable.
Here's a quote from Josh Morrissey. To be honest, this by Mike McIntyre of the Winnipeg Free Press. To be honest, I don't think one word has been said since the game ended in the locker room. Not one word. I think the reason for the silence is the frustration. Obviously, we can't afford to lose games right now, and that's a game we shouldn't lose. He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. I'm glad that they're frustrated, but clearly they haven't done anything about it, and now it's too late. So, I mean, great. You should have been frustrated 35 games ago, 40 games ago, and figured out a way to find a way to do it because, this is just a... This is, this is
a low point. This is rock bottom, Drew. Rock bottom.
I don't even know if it is rock bottom. It might very well be. They could lose to the Kraken still next week. That might be more rock bottom.
Yeah, the Kraken beat LA 6-1 last week. I don't understand it.
That's, in the time capsule that this season is going to be at some point in time, it's just going to be inexplicable bad performance after inexplicable bad performance. And
we haven't even mentioned that they got Nate Schmidt and Kyle Connor back tonight.
Yeah.
Right?
They're at full health.
They
can't even use any of their excuses that they love to use. I mean, that's the crazy part is like they literally know they can't find an excuse. Like there are no more excuses. They can't say, well, the angle of the sun, when you compared it to the angle of the moon, it created a polar vortex in the arena. Then we were skating uphill the whole time and there was a big draft.
Drew, the polar vortex was outside.
I know. You know what I'm talking about. Nobody knows what I'm
There's
talking about.
There's no excuses. You're right.
Jets tied it up at the 6:01 mark of the second period. Mark Scheifele, his 27th of the year. Some of the most inconsequential 27 goals you'll see. Assist to Nate Schmidt and Nikolai Ehlers. It's a good tip. It's a tip. It was kind of, Thomas Greiss was locked in. It was a game where you're going to have to get tips to get past him. He was seeing the puck well. The puck was as big as a beach ball for him tonight. Tips were going to be your way to succeed, and the Jets got a goal here on a tip at the 6:01 mark, Ezzy.
I feel like we're almost sadomasochists by continuing to talk about this game, but we'll continue to talk about this game, boys, because it was a nice tip. I mean, I don't know much else you can say about, like, again, like, it goes back to what we said before. Like, the Jets were all over the Red Wings, and you got the feeling, and Wheeler scores obviously later, and it's overturned, but there was at no point at that point in the game, you weren't thinking like, okay, this is a real tight, tie game, and the Jets better look out here because the Red Wings are probably going to take the lead. Like, the momentum was all in the Jets' favor. But yeah, I mean, this is a nice goal. They finally got rewarded. We talked about the first period. Ehlers had a good chance. Stastny had a couple really good chances. Dubois had a chance on the power play, and they finally get rewarded. Scheifele's got great hands, but as you said, Drew, I mean, it turns out that after Wheeler's goal is overturned, they couldn't follow up on anything, so it was inconsequential.
Let's talk about that. So the Jets thought they made it 2-1 on another tip. Blake Wheeler, the puck went in net. Tip. Yeah, great tip. Puck went in net. Wheeler played, I thought, a pretty good game today. Look, Wheeler in the last,
he was hustling, he was working.
He also made a really nice defensive play when both defensemen in the first period chased the forward into the corner, and Wheeler went to the front of the net, and he redirected a puck away from the Wings forward who was in front. So he did make some nice defensive plays as well.
Look, Blake Wheeler over the past 20 games, whenever he came back from injury, has been a pretty good player for this Winnipeg Jets team. He's obviously not the same Blake Wheeler he was. He's obviously getting paid too much money. That's not his fault. He's been a pretty good player for this Jets team. I was critical of him earlier in the year, but fair is fair. He's been pretty good for this team, but obviously too little, too late. So the goal's taken off the board because it was an offside, and the rules are the rules, and it was an offside. But the team just collapsed. They just absolutely Detroit got a boost from that disallowed goal, and the Jets just were not able to punch back for the rest of the game. Detroit controlled, in my mind, or were the better of the two teams for the rest of the game from that point on. It's like the Jets faced the slightest bit of adversity, the slightest part of the game didn't go their way, and that was it. Then that was it. They just didn't have any response to it. They let a team that gave up 50 shots the night before and played the night before dictate the rest of the pace of the game for the next, however 30 minutes or so it was. And that just can't happen. And
you're throwing your hands up because you're right. And even though, a lot of Jets fans are watching that game and the Red Wings, eventually go up 2-1, and you're thinking, here we go again. We've seen this so many times this year. The Jets have lost to so many teams that are below them in the standings or have losing records. And yeah, I mean, we could talk all day about how, Detroit has a bunch of good young players and they beat Boston. Boston's been one of the hottest teams over the last 2 or 3 months.
And by the way, Detroit going into that game last night had lost 6 straight.
Exactly, right? So we could talk about that all we want, but from the Jets' perspective, you can't lose to a team in that situation because of your lack of effort and your lack of consistency, in the game. Because you're right, Drew. The first half of this game, definitely the first period, I would say in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the first half of the game, I mean, the Jets were all over them. You could tell. I mean, Detroit had a few chances. They obviously, buried the shorty from Sam Gagne. But I mean,
you want to talk about
you wonder, is it, is this team just so deflated? Like, is it psychological?
Yeah, they have no
because there was so much time to get ready for this game, and your fans are back. You've got Colorado coming in Friday. Like, dear Lord, what is that game going to be? Maybe the Jets win the game, but it's not going to matter.
Well, look, what I don't understand is
I don't think they will win the game. By the way,
you want to talk about getting goalied? The Bruins got goalied last night by the Red Wings. If you put 50 shots on a goalie,
right,
and you lose, that's getting goalied. The shots in tonight's game were 35-33 for the Red Wings after the Jets won the first period 13-5 in the shots on goal. For the final 40 minutes of the game, the Red Wings outshot the Jets 30-20. That is pathetic. And I know shots are not the be-all and end-all of a stat. And I know that, shots can be a bit of a misleading stat. But you have to find a way to control the game. That's just how you have to do it. That's how you have to win. You have to find a way to control the game. And the Jets didn't. The Jets' possession in the second period, 70% for the Red Wings, 30% for the Jets at 5-on-5.
And I guarantee you, Drew, I guarantee you that was in the beginning of the period, because it seemed like Detroit had the puck for the rest of the second period. Maybe the first 5 minutes the Jets were in it, and then Detroit just took over and had possession. And again, it goes back to that idea of this is a team that played last night, and yet they look fresher. They look ready to go. They look like they were the hungrier of the two teams. Which team was desperate to get in? Which team was desperate for 2 points? I mean, look, everybody knows the reality, right? We've been talking about this for a long time. The Jets weren't mathematically eliminated. They still technically are not mathematically eliminated, but they're Drew.
Yeah,
it's the truth. But the reality is, like I think Money Puck had them at 1.2%. So it is. So you're saying there's a chance. So you're saying there's a chance, but there ain't much of one. Well, the reality is, you didn't play like a team that.
Don't make me give you a Ginsburg guarantee, Dave, because I will guarantee you the Jets do not go to the playoffs. And I don't think any Jets fans are going to argue that.
11 games, and they make the playoffs.
The Red Wings scored the game-winning goal at the 9:11 mark of the third period. It's Michael Rasmussen, his 12th of the year, assist to Oscar Sundqvist, and the secondary assist goes to Chris Cuolo, who, I'll be honest, I don't know who that is. They may have made up a player as far as I know. This play is just, it's soft. The puck is behind. I mean, and this one drives me crazy. The play goes behind the Jets net. It doesn't appear as though it's going to be a dangerous play. It's behind the Jets net. Logan Stanley has his guy, or is matched up against his guy. Does Logan Stanley, use his body? Does he use his size to take away the guys, to eliminate the guy? Does he press him up against the boards and eliminate him? No. Does he use his stick in an effective manner? No. The puck goes from behind the net, out front, where, we don't need to tell everybody that the Jets are a disaster when it comes to D-zone coverage in front of their net, and soft as soft can be. Puck ends up on Rasmussen's stick, and he's a big boy, and he knocks it in the net. Logan Stanley, I don't know why he was playing in this game to begin with. It's another terrible decision by an overmatched head coach in playing Logan Stanley tonight.
Well, just ask Garrett Hole. I mean, he put out the numbers. Don't know if you guys saw that.
I didn't.
Garrett Hole, for those who don't know, is he has his own company, but he's a smart guy. He knows his advanced statistics, and I mean these numbers are readily available. By the way, he just compiled them. I mean, based on game score and possession and everything like that, expected goals. Like Ville Heinola has clearly, in his small sample size this year, has been better than Logan Stanley. I agree with you, Drew. I mean, we're not piling on Logan Stanley here, but I have just as much of a problem. It was Brendan Dillon and Blake Wheeler in front of the net, if I'm not mistaken, just whacking. And Michael Rasmussen, he was a top 10 pick, 9th overall. In the 2017 draft, the Chicago draft, the same year, that was the year the Jets took Vesalainen. So this is a good player. We talked about it. The Red Wings have a bunch of good players, between the ages of, 19 and 25. But like, again, this is a goal that's preventable. Like, that's the whole issue here. Like, Rasmussen just out muscles. And, I found it funny. Like, Greg Millen is talking about, Rasmussen's a tough guy to move in front of the net. Brendan Dillon is 6'4", 220. Blake Wheeler is 6'5", 200 plus pounds. Like, these guys can, push him out of the way and bat the puck and, move him out of the crease. And this goes back to what we've talked about with Craig Button and Mike McIntyre and many others. The Jets in front of the net, have trouble defending. And it's a turnover on Logan Stanley, but I'm not going to say it's all on Logan Stanley. I think the net front coverage was not good enough.
The net front coverage was not good. It's not all on Logan Stanley. And for those in the chat who are saying Drew's blaming the entire loss on Logan Stanley, I am not doing that. I'm not doing that. But
I'll defend you. I'd like to defend you, but I will.
Thank you. If you're Logan Stanley You have to play physical. That is what you're bringing to this Winnipeg Jets lineup.
You got to be
and
mean.
If you're not going to play physical,
Drew, remember when you're smashing the table,
yeah,
you're reverberating.
I know. But when you're not going to play physical,
You have a gavel there? What's going on? Is this Judge
maybe
Drury?
do some more, Drew. Maybe do some more gesturing, because gesturing is less offensive.
Yeah.
People will have to listen to audio after the
Yeah.
fact.
when you're not playing physical, what are you doing in the lineup, especially over Ville Heinola? If you're Dave Lowry, Logan Stanley has to know what his role is on this Jets team if he's in the lineup. And that's to be physical. And that's your job as a head coach to make sure that that player knows what you expect of him. Soft playing should equal a spot on the bench, and that goes for everybody. The Jets, as per usual, were soft as can be all game long.
I'd be shocked, Drew, if Ville Heinola, and this is just me personally, I don't speak for anybody. I'd be shocked if Ville Heinola wasn't in the lineup on Friday night against Colorado. Not just based on that play alone, but just based on the recent play of Logan Stanley versus the recent play of Ville Heinola.
Well,
like if you're not going to play Ville Heinola with the Jets, why isn't he playing with the Moose right now?
Yeah, you're 100% correct. Their usage of Ville Heinola doesn't make any sense.
I hear someone say Moose.
No, not yet, Dave. Hold your horses.
There was something called.
We need a Manuk Moose minute to save us.
We'll do a Manuk Moose minute.
We're not going to be breaking down that empty netter, Drew. I'll tell you that much.
I know.
It's going to be a month.
Dave's missed a bunch of shows. He's got a lot of Moose talk to catch us up on. We'll do that after the break. But look, it's just another loss where there's so much blame to go around. There's blame to be placed on the players. There's blame to be placed on the coaching staff. There's blame to be placed on the front office. There's no shortage of blame to be placed top to bottom of this Winnipeg Jets organization for what has been a disaster of a season that very well may have been rock bottom tonight. And heaven help those who still have tickets for the remaining games, because those are going to be some real grinders to get through. And I don't mean that in any sense of the sandwich way of the word. Let's go to break. This has been the Betway game recap. There was an empty net goal on top of it. You saw it. I don't think you need more about it. With a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds, what are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. When we come back, we'll do a Manuk Moose minute. We'll do a Tough Tuck hardest hitting comment. We'll talk about.
You still need those toques. I mean, unless you haven't been outside today, let me tell you, spring's not here. So Brent Bellamy got his toque today, number 10 architecture. So we'll give out another one.
There you go. Nobody go anywhere. More of the IC post game show coming up right after these messages.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends, or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Boys, finding parking on game day shouldn't take longer than the Minute Minute.
It shouldn't take longer than 1 minute.
Yeah, less than a minute? I spend at least 20 driving around to find street parking, or if I'm in a rush to the game, I'll shovel out 20 at a parkade.
You're both doing it wrong. There's this app called Grid Park. It lets you find and pre-book your parking spot on game days, and you can reserve your spot up to 1 month in advance. And guess how much you'll pay?
Tell me, Dave. You know I love a deal.
Ezzy, $5.
Come on, $5?
Yeah, and it's just 2 blocks from the arena.
The Grid Park app?
Yep, spelled GRYD Park. And you know what else?
There's more?
Our listeners get their first park free with the code FIRSTPARK.
Wow, so they just download the Grid Park app and pre-book their next game day spot for free?
Yeah, you got it, Ez. Promo code FIRSTPARK. Only on the Grid Park app.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com. For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. Top of the hour. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. Dave, are you wearing some sort of Hawaiian necklace? Yeah? Okay, just wanted to see.
Yeah, it's my lay. What are you talking about, Drew?
It was either that or he was doing Dave's his own Flavor Flav impression, but I wasn't sure if he had a giant clock on attached to that necklace.
Dave's bringing sexy back to Illegal Curve, Drew. That's what he's doing.
That is a very low bar to hurdle there, Mr. Ginsburg, let me tell you. Let me ask you guys this. What did you think of that whole Budweiser Dale Hawerchuk tie-in thing? Because I thought it was a little. Look, what
do you mean? I don't understand what you're talking about.
If you went to the downtown Winnipeg today, that giant red light thing.
Yeah, I saw that
in True North.
But what you said tie-in thing?
Well, I'm saying like they were tying it into the passing of Dale Hawerchuk and everything, and I thought I might be on the minority about this one, but I thought I don't know. I thought it was I'm all in favor of saluting Dale Hawerchuk, but I thought it was a little tasteless. And I tweeted about it.
But Drew, just so you know,
yeah.
Paul Friesen from the Winnipeg.
Yeah, the Hawerchuk family was on board with it. I know that.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, but I mean, like, their opinion matters, right? Like, I mean, they're the ones who it's their father's memory, but Eric Hawerchuk, his son, said that he appreciated that fans or media or whomever. Some people didn't like it because it meant that they cared enough about his legacy to not like the tie-in between a commercial enterprise and Hawerchuk. So look, I mean, I thought Dave Ellett spoke from the heart. I liked what he had to say. I don't know, they didn't show it on the broadcast. I recorded it from in the arena and then tweeted it out so people could watch it. We have it on the website, illegalcurve.com. You can go there and watch it if you'd like. But I mean, it's you can say whatever that you want. I mean, guys, let's talk about Let's Talk, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the commercialization of things is in some instances can be a little tasteless.
Yeah.
We should also, I was going to say, Dave, we should clarify. It wasn't the anniversary of his passing. It was his birthday.
His birthday.
Yeah, no, right. Sorry. But
no, it's okay. I just wanted to throw that in there, Drew, but I'm not going to, that's for other people to talk about. I mean, it's honoring Dale Hawerchuk, who, we know what he meant to the city and what he meant to the hockey community in general, and the family was on board. So, I mean, regardless of, if there's a corporate, it's more of a corporate thing. I mean, I'm not going to. anything to honor Dale Hawerchuk's legacy to me,
Yeah,
and the families behind it. So,
and that's all.
I
I think
have no
the
problem
family, if the family's fine with it, like you kind of have to. You don't have to love it. You don't have to love but the reality is the enterprise is donating money to the cause. They're not just, shamelessly free marketing off of it. So
I get that. And
it is what it is. And again, like I said, I actually really liked what Dave Allard had to say.
Yeah.
I thought he spoke really well. So,
I just don't think. And this isn't anything to do with Dale Hawerchuk or the beer company or the Jets. I just don't think death should be linked to a marketing campaign. That's sort of my general.
But it's a memory, right?
It.
I agree. But look, you're still. It's a memory, and you're raising money for a good cause. So, you can say that, but would Budweiser have donated $20,000 to Hawerchuk? The reality is, quite honestly, if you don't like Budweiser beer, are you going to go out and buy Budweiser beer because you saw this?
No,
I'm not. It's not going to change my opinion, but I think that the money was donated to a good cause. The family was fine with it.
Let's get back to the.
I think also the reality is that this stuff happens all the time.
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to bring it up because I just wanted.
You're entitled to your opinion, Drew. There's nothing wrong with that.
Ezzy, you work on getting the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment ready. Well, we bring what's been missing from this program for much of the last week to 10 days.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minuk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
Before Dave M starts, I just want to say I was at the Moose game on Sunday.
Yes.
A game against the Toronto Marlies. And I had a great time. I was there with my kids and my wife, and we were there with some of my daughter and my son's friends, and we just had a great time. And I just wanted to make mention of that. I was thoroughly entertained from start to finish. The Moose showed a ton of heart and battling back from 3 different 1-goal deficits to eventually win the game on Sunday. Look, I was more entertained at that Moose game than I have been entertained at a lot of Jets games this year. Just wanted to throw that out there. Dave M., take it away.
No, and I think that's a good point, Drew. And I think that was the best attendance. It was just shy of 8,000 folks. Yeah. I think it was 7,600 in the building, or over 7,600, for the game on Sunday. So that's a great attendance to see the Moose fight back and win that game after winning 5-0 on Friday night. The Moose won 3 of 4 during this homestand. They keep winning. Their home record is incredible. They just don't lose in Winnipeg. I think they have 7 regulation losses, maybe 6. Maybe the one against Laval on Wednesday was the 7th regulation loss. But this team wins at home. It's just it's incredible, really, what they've been able to do in Winnipeg this season. And they took it on the road, and they took the show on the road and went to Milwaukee, played in the school day game. So, folks, if we were tuning into the broadcast and listening on the radio, for example, they heard probably 6,000 screaming kids at UW Panther Arena, which every time I watch a game, obviously on video, I watch the games. I always think of the old Winnipeg Arena because they have that in the one end zone. They have this big yellow wall, and it reminds me of the old school Winnipeg Arena. But
you should call it the Ferris Bueller game, Dave.
That's a good. Hey, I like that. It's great. They
Let's
usually played against. What's that?
Let's trademark that.
We'll see what we can do.
It's probably trademarked already, but
yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe the Cubs run some sort of Ferris Bueller game. We'll have to find out. But it's just interesting because they went on the road and they lost David Gustafson before the game. He was announced he is in COVID protocol. So that was a bit of an unfortunate news because he's been playing extremely well for them, the Jets 2018 second rounder. And so he actually wasn't on the trip for them. Mikkel Burton got his second straight start. Christian Vesalainen was back in the lineup. He had left the game against Laval, I believe, on Wednesday after blocking a shot. So he missed the last 2 games against Toronto. But they started the game off real well. Evan Poli, the big Albertan, they call him the Water Buffalo. He scored his 9th goal of the season off a Nicholas Jones rebound. Nice shot. Nicholas Jones, nice veteran player. He just brings a lot to the team. He hasn't scored a ton. I think he has 8 goals this season, but he's just another one of those smart veteran players that the Moose brought in, who's completely bought into the team first mentality of this Moose club that we see so much this season. And then in the second period, they kept it rolling. They came out like a house on fire. We're out shooting Milwaukee heavily. And remember, the Moose are the second best team in the Central. The Milwaukee Admirals are the third best team. They're the farm club of the Nashville Predators. So there was kind of a little bit of a seesaw battle in terms of Milwaukee had been on a bit of a tear of late. So the Moose were wanting to fend them off and maintain their position in the Central. Simon Lundmark, the 2019 second rounder, he doesn't get a lot of reference because there's so many other guys that we tend to focus on. Kovacevic, Sandberg, Chisholm, even Gavanke, that and Heinola, obviously, when he's with the Moose, that Lundmark, who's playing his first season over here in North America, he kind of gets overlooked a little bit. I really like Lundmark. I think that he's really adjusted well. He picked up his 10th assist on this play I'm going to describe. And it's on the Illegal Curve Instagram. It's on my Twitter account, so you can always go and watch it after the fact. But Lundmark makes just a brilliant read just coming from the Moose blue line while he was defending, recognizes the passes being made, intercepts it in the neutral zone, counterattacks beautifully, ends up going to a 4-on-2. Bobby Lynch, who's been really hot, he scores his second goal in as many games to give the Moose a 2-0 lead off of just, like I said, a beautiful play that Lundmark makes. And he gets the assist, but doesn't necessarily get a lot of recognition. And then early in the third period, Jeff Malott, 21st, as he said early in the broadcast, his blackjack goal, 21st of the season. Just kind of doing what he too.
I saw the replay.
It's just kind of doing what he does, right? He's always in the slot, and he finishes a Christian Vesalainen and takes a wrist shot on the power play, and Jeff Malott is in front of the net. So it's 3-0. You're thinking to yourself, the Moose are rolling. This is probably, they're in cruise control. They're controlling the play. And then they got a little sloppy at the blue line on a power play, gave up a shorthanded goal, something we heard from the Jets today. So suddenly a 3-0 game becomes an organization game.
It's an organizational problem.
A malaise, if you will. The PK is usually a strength of the Moose. Hasn't been as much of this point of the season. It's hit a little bit of hasn't been as good. I think Christian Reichel, when he's healthy again, that'll be a good thing. But they gave up the shorthanded goal, and then they gave up a goal with about just under a minute to go. I think 57 seconds to go. So the game score looked a lot closer than it actually was. But in reality, a 3-2 game, it really was not. And with the win, the Moose improved to 37-24-2, and their magic number to clinch was 3. It could end up being less if some of the teams that are on the outside of the playoffs lose. So the Moose going into their game right now against Milwaukee on Friday, the rematch, are 3 points away from clinching a playoff spot. Again, that could be reduced if some of the teams on the outside end up losing some games like at Iowa, that sort of thing. So we'll have to watch and see what happens. And this Moose team really is on the precipice of doing something the 2017-18 team, which kind of was like the most talented team we had seen, but not the most teamish group, which I've said quite a bit this season. Not as much of a this team is just solid from point A to point B. I wrote about the culture, the mentality, the inclusivity of this group. You can read it on illegalcurve.com. I wrote that yesterday. But this team is now 6 wins away from having the most wins of a Moose team since the return to Winnipeg. That was 42 by that 17-18 team. So we'll see what the Moose are able to do. They've got 9 games left to pick up 6 wins. And what's impressive about it is that they all played 4 less games because they're only playing 72 games this year. That 2017-18 team played 76 games. So the Moose are rolling. They're going to go into Milwaukee. I know Paul, I think it was T. Conopoli, sorry, I think it was T. Conopoli, asked me about Declan Chisholm. It looked really bad when he got that slew foot. I think folks will remember on the road it feels like a month ago at this point.
It's only because you've been away for so long. It was a few weeks ago.
Exactly. But I've been told that he's not as bad as he thought. And so it sounds like he could be back sooner rather than later. Christian Reichel, I was asking about him today. It sounds like he may be back soonish as well. So the Moose, I mean, this and whom I met? Oh, Greg Morales, who's one of the most, he was top 3 or 4 in points he's having his first year of pro. He's been really good. This Moose team is really good. Like I know
you just mentioned the guys that are out, right, Dave?
Yes.
Like you're talking about some of their best players. David Gustafson, who's in COVID protocol.
Yeah.
Obviously, we hope he's doing well. But you mentioned Christian Reichel, Declan Chisholm, and they keep winning, right? It's incredible. It's a different type of depth. It's not you go back to 2009, 2010 when the Moose were affiliated with the Vancouver Canucks, right? And you had Corey Schneider in net, but you had like Alex Burrows, and I forget if Kessler was on that team. But it was a much different team. This is, as you've talked about many times, and you're killing it on the coverage, Dave. I gotta always give that to you. Nobody covers the Moose better than you do. It's true. Everybody knows that. And if anybody doesn't know that, or if anybody wants to argue that, I will I'll fight them on that, because
Wow,
look
Ezzy's throwing fists and to honor Dave.
I'm not talking about physical fighting. I'm talking about verbal or whatever written
verbal
type of,
or whatever. My money's on the other guy.
Yeah, exactly. I talk good. I do talk good.
I speaker the gooder.
Yeah, I speaker the gooder.
Well,
but
I did use teamish today, so
that's all I wanted to mention. It's just the depth of this team. I mean, like, you would think, okay, no Gustafsson, Christian Reichel's still out, Declan Chisholm's still out. Yeah, Ville Heinola is up with the Jets, right? So, I mean, can you imagine, putting Heinola into this lineup right now? They could win the Calder Cup for the first time. It's an exciting time to be a Moose fan.
And just fun to watch at the very least.
Well, there's no question. They're never out of it. They're never out because they work their asses off and they play like a team. And don't get me wrong, they're not the perfect team, but I mean, they're pretty good, right? They're the 6th or 7th best team from a winning percentage wise in the AHL. They've been consistent all season. Like, this has been a consistent pattern. To answer Kenny's water bottle, yes, Morgan Barron is eligible. He was on the Moose roster on trade deadline day, March 21st. So Morgan Barron will be eligible. He'll play with the Moose when Jets are done and the Moose are starting the Calder Cup. So the Moose are going to get Ville Heinola back. They'll get Morgan Barron back, and they'll have, as you just said, Declan Chisholm. They'll have David Gustafsson. This Moose team is stacked, and the only question mark for me is the goaltending. Mikkel Burton's been good. He hasn't been great. And Arvid Holm, Evan Cormier, as he mentioned, he's actually been probably one of the most consistent goaltenders for this Moose club. And
former Newfoundland Growler.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens. That probably could be their only weakness, I think, is the goaltending. But I think that their overall team game, and like I said, folks are saying, what's going to happen with the Jets being out of the playoffs? You think you're only going to have 1 week of illegal curve? Come on, people. We got plenty to say.
We turn into the illegal antler show.
Exact
the Manuk Moose post-game show, right?
I mean, why not? I mean, we've got the audience. People are interested. I suspect that the Moose will have an interesting crowd. So there's no reason why that we shouldn't keep this thing rolling with, some sort of. I mean, I'm not suggesting YouTube baboons are going to be on it, but I'm just saying that the illegal curve will continue to run, doing some sort of Moose type of show after the playoff games get rolling in May.
Ezzy, Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Who's winning the toque on this frigid April night?
Yeah. Please, Spring, can you come to our city and province anytime soon? Because it was really, really depressing outside when it was a blizzard, and I didn't like that. I don't think anybody did. We're going to give it to K Squared 76. You've got the comment up there. There were a lot of good comments. So thanks everybody for watching tonight, even though, the Jets lost and it's been a bit of a disappointing stretch here. But like this comment, the Jets don't play their young talent. Where is Gus and Heinola? Obviously, David Gustafsson's in COVID protocol. But I think this comment isn't about right now, the last, couple days. I think he's talking about, or she is talking about, the last few weeks here. I miss Perreault, talking about obviously Matty Perreault, number 85, who would come off the bench and spark the team. He also was a net front presence in spite of his size. I mean, I agree. Like, I think Ville Heinola and David Gustafsson, as Dave knows, different situations, because I think, without me knowing this for a fact, I think the plan was to keep David Gustafsson, with the Moose, especially since, he was sent back down. I don't know that for a fact, but it seems like they'd like him to, play the rest of the regular season and go on a long playoff run. Heinola is a different situation. I think he's got to be playing games, whether it's with the Moose or the Jets. But as it stands now, I would expect him to go into the lineup on Friday. And I agree with the whether it's Matty Perreault guys or a Brandon Tanev going back to kind of 2017 through 2019, there definitely was a lack of that kind of Energizer Bunny type of player. So K Squared 76, send me an email, Ezra@illegalcurve.com, or slide into my DMs at ICSEG on Twitter, and Tough Duck will ship out a toque to you, and you're going to need that toque for at least another week or two.
Congratulations to K Squared 76, the winner of tonight's Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, they make the Saturday show, they make the website a possibility. Those are our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, Bernstein's Deli, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rollies Transfer, and Grid Park. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, leave us some comments, and you tell your friends and tell your family the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game, and again on Saturday mornings, is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. I'm going to be away this weekend, so I'm leaving the show in the good, trusty hands of Mr. Ginsburg and Mr. Manouk.
It's about time we talk more.
That's right. It's about
more
time.
Mic time for us, Drew.
People hear less of me, more of you guys. So
it's our time to shine, baby.
Be sure to join them Friday night at 9:45 p.m. for the post-game show after the Jets and the Colorado Avalanche. Saturday morning again at 9 a.m. and then again Sunday and Monday with a back-to-back situation, the Jets in Ottawa and Montreal. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you won't miss a minute. And set a reminder to be alerted to join us live after each and every Jets game. The Jets drop another decision tonight, a disappointing effort, a loss to the Detroit Red Wings by a 3-1 margin. Dave is telling you all to smash the like button. For Ezra Ginsburg, for the suntanned Dave Manouk, I'm your host, Drew Mindell. Until Friday night at 9:45 p.m. Thanks so much for joining us. Until then, we wish you good night and good luck, and thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Mahalo.